Who are the players you should be targeting on DFS, on DraftKings, and FanDuel for the divisional playoff weekend slates on Saturday and Sunday? It's time to break it down all here as we close the week on a lineup Friday on Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL and fantasy football for sportingnews.com. There you'll find our in-depth breakdowns of the 4 games of the divisional playoff weekend. That's what we've been doing with our past 2 shows. We broke down the 2 Saturday games, the 2 Sunday games. Now we're going to put it all in a blender, spit out what the computer says here in terms of where we want to go in DFS. So how we're going to break it down, we're going to just do the daily games, really not going to focus on the showdowns here. We're going to do the Saturday slate and the Sunday slate and give you the picks there on DraftKings and FanDuel and how we considered our roster constructions there. Then we'll close with another rankings list here, ranking the head coaching openings. This is from an NFL perspective here. We got 8 openings now. That's a quarter of the league. And also looking at it from a fantasy football lens to see what team is most appealing, what teams were most intrigued about making the right moves here to really improve their offensive fortunes in 2022. So packed show here to end the week. Before we start, I got to tell you, thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. We are free and available to you on all platforms. All right, let us get into our DraftKings and FanDuel lineups for the slate on Saturday. We know that we have 2 games. Early is the Bengals at the Titans. Late is the 49ers at the Packers. So a lot of good offensive skill players to start attacking from. Now, what I do right away is think about how I pick the games, and I pick the Bengals to beat the Titans and the Packers to beat the 49ers. So think about game scripts, try to figure that out in my head, because if it's not congruent, then why is the analysis there in the first place? You want to have to tie it in to what you're thinking about, the way the game is going to go. So for me, I look at the defense and say, okay, we're going to go with the Bengals here. FanDuel and DraftKings, 3,400 there on FanDuel, 27 for the Bengals there on DraftKings. So that's easy. I'm going to lock them in. They're pretty cheap in relation to the other 3 teams. We only have 4 options there. So let's do that. So if I'm also liking the Bengals to win, that means I like Joe Burrow a lot in this game. And I love the prices here, 6,600 on DraftKings, 7,700 on FanDuel. So he's locked in as our quarterback on both formats here. Aaron Rodgers a little too expensive here. I don't want to go down to Jimmy Garoppolo and Ryan Tannehill. So the next thing I look at, what's the no-brainer running back I want to plug in? I think it's A.J. Dillon, 5,100 in DraftKings, 6,100 in FanDuel. That makes sense, right? He is part of the Packers committee, pretty even with Aaron Jones. And if you get below that price point, you get backs that are inconsistently involved here, and we're not sure what their value is going to be. Let's talk about the Samaj P. Ryans and looking at really Dontrell Hilliard with Derrick Henry returning. We don't know what he's going to get. The 49ers are pretty much dedicated to Elijah Mitchell, so you're going to see very little production there. So it's hard to navigate through all that, but it points to A.J. Dillon being where we want to go here on either side, 5,100, 6,100. So about 1,000 apart as we're operating with most of these players based on the salary caps in each game. Now, I thought about Joe Burrow, and immediately I wanted to go after T. Higgins. I think it's a good T. Higgins game. The Titans are pretty weak and limited in their secondary at corner. T. Higgins, after Jamar Chase's week last week, I think Higgins gets it going here on the outside. So 5,700 for him on DraftKings, 6,400 on FanDuel. So there's my stack there between Burrow and Higgins. Now, another no-brainer wide receiver to me. I want a piece of the Packers passing game for sure. So I go Allen Lazard. I really like the price on DraftKings, 4,300. Still very affordable on FanDuel, 6,000. So Higgins and Lazard as the number 2s with a lot of upside that are playing well make a lot of sense. Higgins facing a weak Titans secondary. The 49ers secondary has Emmanuel Mosley and Ambry Thomas, but they're overachieving a bit. They're going to be weak away from Devontae Adams. So I'm going to go with Al Lazard there. So Higgins and Lazard, good price points for sure. Now, actually, I went to tight end next, and I weighed the tight ends. You have Anthony Ferkser and Jeff Swaim for the Titans. Nah, we can't go there. CJ Uzama, do we really want to go there? And the Packers are pretty much non-existent at tight end with Josiah DeGara and Mercedes Lewis and those type of players. So I'm going with George Kittle. He has a good history against the Packers when healthy. There's no doubt about it. 5,300 on DraftKings, 6,400 on FanDuel. Now, I want to round out wide receiver, so I want to pay up and get one of the studs this week. So I weighed the values on both sites here, and on DraftKings, I like Devontae Adams there, paying up for him playing off Lazard at 8,500. Now, the other site, FanDuel, went in a little different direction here and paid up for Deebo Samuel at 8,600. So looking at Deebo and Devontae, I almost said Devabo and Deontay, but they are Devontae and Deebo. Say that 10 times fast. But yeah, so I like Devontae Adams there. The price point is more comfortable for me to get other guys in that I want on DraftKings for him. And Samuel allows that same luxury there. So got a little ahead of myself, but I am going to use a fourth wide receiver here. And this price is just too good when you round it out. So we have Higgins, Lazard, Adams on DK. Higgins, Lazard, Samuel on FanDuel, Kittle. We're going to go A.J. Brown on both sides. 6,200 only on DraftKings. If I like the Bengals to win the game, that means the Titans are going to have to pass offense or pass often in their pass offense. And you look at A.J. Brown being the number one. The Bengals secondary is pretty good. They have a decent pass rush, but A.J. Brown clearly their number one receiver in Tennessee. If Ryan Tannehill has to put up the ball a little bit, it's going to be the numbers are going to come there. So 6,200 for A.J. Brown on DraftKings, 76 on FanDuel. So we've pretty much rounded our receiving core. That leaves us with trying to figure out what we're going to do with RB2 here. So I loved it on FanDuel because after investing in the rest of the players, we were left with money here for Joe Mixon at 7,800. So I'm looking at it as the Bengals are going to do the old classic strategy of pass to score, run to win. So Mixon should be a bigger factor in the second half. He's also the workhorse there. You're splitting there with Dylan and Aaron Jones a little bit. Titans are unsure with Derrick Henry. You also have to pay up to see if he's going to be a feature back. Mixon, I'm certainly confident that he's going to get most of the touches here in the Bengals backfield. So that's how I weigh it. So running down the FanDuel lineup, Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon are the Bengals that anchor this. Then you have T. Higgins and the Bengals defense. From Green Bay, we're exposed to A.J. Dillon and Alan Lazard. From the 49ers, we've got their two top receivers here, Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. And then we rounded out with A.J. Brown. So we really like that FanDuel lineup. Not too many major holes that we're concerned about. When our weakest link there, really, you look at it as Lazard, but we still feel pretty confident he can produce. So I love the FanDuel lineup. DraftKings a little bit trickier. They are priced a little bit better. So going down what we had, similarities to FanDuel, Burrow, Dillon, Higgins, Lazard. We went with Adams instead of Samuel. Kittle, Brown, Bengals. So where do we go? We have enough money left for Donta Foreman. Now, I made the decision. Did I want Eli Mitchell? And do I want to go Byron or a real cheap wide receiver there like a Brandon Ayuk? Or did I want to go get Adams and go get the top-notch receiver on his team and hope for the best? And Elijah Mitchell, again, I like the Packers to win. I don't know if the game script's going to help Mitchell. I think he has a very limited ceiling. Foreman can kind of match that in a complementary role to Henry. So going there, it's not ideal. We would like one more back that's guaranteed a lot of touches here. But again, I don't think they're going to totally weigh down Derrick Henry. They got to ease him back here. And Foreman has been too effective to ignore here for the Titans. So that's the difference. So really, we go down with the same lineups there, except for Foreman on DraftKings instead of Mixon that we have on FanDuel, and then Adams on DraftKings and Samuel on FanDuel. So really confident about that lineup. It should be a lot of fun here as we see that play out on Saturday. And again, they're tied to me picking the Bengals and Packers to win those games. Hey, fantasy football fans, this is Vinnie Iyer with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. It's called Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents per gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use the promo code TOUCHDOWN and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back in your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making up as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime for your bank account, PayPal, your gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back in your first tank. Use the promo code TOUCHDOWN there at Get Upside. This episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is also brought to you by BetOnline, who would like to wish you a happy betting new year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022, whatever season it is. It's still football season here through the NFL playoffs, new year, and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2022 calendar year. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, we will now continue and break down the Sunday slate of two games there for you where we want to target our players. Thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. Big announcement, the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show podcast is going on the road to LA for Super Week. Follow the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show today to get the most comprehensive coverage of the big game and leading up to it. It's free and available for you on all platforms. All right. Let's get to Sunday. DraftKings versus FanDuel, the lineups we create there. Now, I'm going to start at quarterback this time and look at Tom Brady as the value. I could play up for Josh Allen, but he's really expensive here. And I think that game might be a little bit lower scoring, disappointing there with Patrick Mahomes. So do I pay up for Allen or Mahomes? Do I really trust Matthew Stafford? Or do I want to go to Tom Brady here, the GOAT, to take care of business here? And I like the price, $6,800 DraftKings, $7,800 on FanDuel. Now, I'm a little bit mixed on whether to stack him. I think I'll look to stack him if I can, but if it doesn't work out that way, I think we're going to go in a different direction. I just think it's smarter to think about a non-stack here so you diversify your portfolio with the games. And quite frankly, I don't want to tie myself to Mike Evans, who could see Jalen Ramsey, or Rob Gronkowski, who could see Jalen Ramsey. But I think Brady will get it done overall as the Rams can contain the running game. There's going to be a lot on Brady. He's going to find different receivers to come through here. So I like Brady. I always feel comfortable putting in. And so I'm going with potential for 250 and 3. I think that can definitely happen in this game for Tom. They're working the tight ends and all that. So I think he's a little bit better return on investment than Josh Allen. You're going to pay up quite a bit. I wanted to pay up, but I wanted to be more sensible and go with Brady. No, I can get good value later. Now, the player I did want to pay up for, this is why I was hesitant about Josh Allen, is Cooper Kupp. I mean, Cooper Kupp is the surest thing in fantasy football all season long. He's going to have a big role. It's a good matchup against the Bucs secondary. 8,600 and 9,500 are his prices. So, yeah, you could go on Stafford for the stack there, but I like Brady a little bit more to outproduce Stafford. So individually, there Brady gets it done. Kupp tied to what Stafford does, but I think Kupp could have a big game, and maybe the other wide receivers could disappoint, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to go with another wide receiver there from the Rams, but I really like Cooper Kupp, and I want to get certain things here. Now, I looked at the prices while I was looking at wide receiver, and I like Stephon Diggs. He's $2,100 less than Cooper Kupp at $6,500 on DraftKings, and he's only $7,800 FanDuel, so $1,700 cheaper there. So good value there for Stephon Diggs as a go-to guy. I like to have as many go-to guys as possible. I feel good that I can now look for some values here with Kupp and Diggs. The next player I actually looked at was Dawson Knox, coming off a massive game against the Patriots. Great matchup. He has the best matchup of any receiving tight end this weekend against the Chiefs. $4,900 on DraftKings and $6,500 FanDuel. Now, with these two games, We talked about the game strip where I like the Bengals and the Packers to control things. Here, I think they're toss-ups. Toss-up games, I should say. The Buccaneers and the Chiefs are barely favorites at home, so you can go either way. So you can go even on this matchup, looking for the best possible player. So I don't feel like I have to go one way or the other game script, but I want to cover as much base as possible here. So we have Kupp and Diggs and Knox again, 4,900, 6,500 for the Bills tight end. Good price there. So very happy about those pickups. Now, Byron Pringle, I thought I would have to go to Byron Pringle if I paid up somewhere, but he's come on for the Chiefs, been more effective of late. They're stepping up as the third key target, ahead of Mecole Hardman, ahead of Demarcus Robinson, and these other guys for Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. So Pringle liked that price, 4,300 on DraftKings. Can't beat that. He's the Al Mazard, really, of this Sunday slate. Byron Pringle, 5,700 on FanDuel. So Kupp, Diggs, Pringle, Knox, those are a receiving core there. Now, let's go to DraftKings and where I looked at the running back first. Leonard Fournette, I'm hopeful he returns. He got in good practice session there on Thursday, so that is a possibility that he'll be activated on off IR on Friday. If not, an easy pivot to Giovanni Bernard in here, and you can save some money there as well. And maybe rethink a little bit, maybe boost your flex a little bit in this slate. But Fournette, 5,700 on DraftKings, 7,000 on FanDuel. If he returns, I like that price point a lot. The bingo free space of Sunday to me is Jerick McKinnon. I mean, 4,800 on DraftKings, 6,000 on FanDuel. Clyde Edwards-Helaire set to play here with the shoulder injury. Got full practices in, but Darrell Williams with the toe, going to miss some more time. McKinnon is a hot hand, did have a complete game against the Steelers. They're going to stick with giving McKinnon key touches here, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire maybe being careful and easing him in a little bit. Know that McKinnon is playing so well and is healthy right now. So that was a no-brainer because we knew we were going to pay up at wide receiver. Had an idea we were going to go the bargain route at running back, so it works out well. So both lineups going down the line have Brady, Fournette, McKinnon, Kupp, Diggs, Pringle, and Knox. We do have one change, really two changes at the end here. So we have flex and defense and special teams left. So I try to look for the best combination possible there. These defenses could disappoint all around. These offenses are there, but there's also some talented defenses. Two of them are the Bucs and Bills. So Bucs paid up for them on DraftKings, but I do like the Bucs to win, and maybe big mistakes from Matthew Stafford there. So 3,100 there, I don't mind paying. How low can you go? It was the Bills, 3,500 on FanDuel. So that's kind of interesting. I went higher on DraftKings because I felt more comfortable with the Bucs, but I didn't like their price point in relation to the other teams there on FanDuel, so I went with the Bills there. Part of it was tied with who else I could get, and I wanted Odell Beckham Jr. in one of these lineups, so he is in the one in DraftKings, 5,300, and the other lineup made room for another key ram, Cam Akers at 5,700. So you could sell it pretty easily here if you wanted to go that way, but Beckham and Akers were the best values in relation to what I could find on defense. So defense, again, I'm not saying I totally punt it. These defenses all are capable making plays, but the Bills did have a big game last time there against the Chiefs. The Bucs can cause Rams matchup problems as well as home. So 3,100 there made the price point natural to have that complimentary Rams player as the flex player. So a lot of good value there. A lot of guys that are going to see the ball. Pringle's our biggest stretch there, but we feel pretty good about everything else in these lineups here on DraftKings and FanDuel for the main Sunday slate for the divisional playoffs. There between the first game, Rams and Buccaneers, and we also have Bills and Chiefs. So that's how we break it down. So you got to weigh, with only 4 teams left, you got to weigh your best possible options, return on investments. And we feel pretty confident we did that playing here on DK and FD. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If you're about getting fit or getting healthier, make sure you make Built Bar part of your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. I think it tastes even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good you won't want to avoid eating it. Unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky, waxy, or taste like a chemical spill, you want to eat healthy, but it can get so boring by the time you get to February, March. This is just not worth it. I want some chocolate. Well, with Built Bar, you don't have to worry about that because every Built Bar you have is covered in 100% chocolate. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, only 4 grams sugar, only 4 grams net carbs, and packed with at least 17 grams of protein. So even if you're not a huge fan of working out as part of your resolution here, you can at least eat something that tastes good and is good for you. That way, when you enjoy a delicious Built Bar covered in all that chocolate, you can almost count it as a workout. And there's so many flavors to choose from as well: coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, and many more. In fact, Built Bar is always coming out with new limited time flavors. So check out built.com often to see what's new. The only way to get in on Built Bar is to go to built.com, use the promo code LOCK15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Use the promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, it is time to close the show. A little bit of special segment here. We did DraftKings and FanDuel, and now we're going to rank the coaching openings, and there's actually 8, believe it or not. We're up to 8. The latest additions there were the Giants and Texans, so we've expanded. The Raiders and Jaguars have had their interim coaches for a while. They're on their search here going forward. So breaking down in backward / reverse order the coaching openings. The last one to me is the Texans. You're going to say goodbye to Deshaun Watson. You have a lot of talent that's limited here. It's a complete rebuild. I'm not sure that you know what Houston is doing with their front offense and defense and office, all of the above. However you slice it, with Nick Caserio there and Jack Easterby. These are guys that used to work for the Patriots. Just don't trust this situation at all, and not a situation I'm looking forward to in fantasy. Brandon Cooks is a nice revelation there. He was a key receiver for them out of necessity. That could shake up next year with Nico Collins maybe having a bigger role. We'll see if Davis Mills is the quarterback, but yeah, I do not envy the person who gets that Texans job. It was already tough for David Culley and his offensive coordinator, Tim Kelly. Unfortunately, they were given nothing. Unfortunately, they didn't get even a chance to succeed there at all. And that's why I'm afraid if you're a coach there, that's not going to happen. The Jaguars have Trevor Lawrence, and I love that upside of having that number 1 overall pick quarterback, but it's the Jaguars. There's a lot of dysfunction going on. I don't know if I trust the GM Trent Baalke here. The ownership, Shad Khan, is a little bit questionable with the hire. So you also look at the AFC South. These 2 teams, Jacksonville and Houston, buried. So not a lot of appeal to me if I'm a head coach going there, and limited fantasy results as well if you go offensive-minded in those hires. Now, the Vikings come in at number 6. I think they're a little bit better in terms of fantasy. They got Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson, but you're going to have to make a decision soon with Kirk Cousins. Adam Thielen is getting a little older. You're also operating without the GM there for a long time, Rick Spielman. So a lot of new things you have to start here in Minnesota to be successful. So, and I think they're going to head to a big rebuild here. Love Jefferson. Let's hope they make the right quarterback decision so he doesn't lose his value should Cousins hang it up here or be moved on from in Minnesota. All right, and the next team is the Giants. I like Daniel Jones. I like Saquon Barkley. They need to build some things around them, a little bit more work on the offensive line. They also moved Dave Gettleman, their general manager, along with Joe Judge. So trying to rebuild a little bit here with Jones. And again, that's why they come in at number 5. I also don't trust the New York organization. They seem to always want to throw it back to the best days of Eli Manning and the pass rush that are not coming back here in New York. So if they can move on from that, focus on Daniel Jones, his dynamic skill set as a runner and passer, I think he's going to get better. The Raiders have given us pretty good fantasy value. I like Hunter Renfrow and when healthy, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs. Pretty good set of skill players. I think they can still improve their other parts of the wide receiver score with Zay Jones and Bryan Edwards being the best option now, minus Henry Ruggs third. But the Raiders are appealing. They're a playoff team. They look pretty good. Derek Carr is a little bit up and down, but marquee team playing and coaching in Las Vegas here. So you can't deny that being a very attractive destination. That's why the Jim Harbaugh rumors swirled around that return. There were a little bit of Jim Harbaugh rumors here as well in Miami because the owner, Stephen Ross, a billionaire, as usual, is a Michigan alum. His school of business there is named after him at Michigan. So you thought he was going to be more effective and aggressive trying to recruit Jim Harbaugh, but we're not sure if Harbaugh is going to leave Michigan altogether at this point, despite all the swirling rumors here. So, but the Dolphins have Tua Tagovailoa. That's a lot of appeal here that you can build around his talents, do a few more things, and get to a winner pretty shortly here that makes the playoffs. Now, number 2 team is the Denver Broncos, and this might surprise you because they have a very open-ended quarterback situation. They're going to move on from Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. It costs Vic Fangio his job here. So Tua, you go and get it, but you have other things to figure out filling the shoes for Brian Flores. Here, there's a lot of talent. They have Noah Fant and Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton and Javonte Williams. Very good offensive line with Garrett Bowles in there. So, there's a lot to like about the Broncos offense skill wise. So you get a quarterback in there, George Patton. I really like the GM, stockpiled some good talent, but quarterback has been the void here. So coach, quarterback, combination, coordinator, getting it all right is important for Denver, but there's some upside there in the Broncos here for 2022 and beyond. Finally, last one is the Chicago Bears. Why I love Justin Fields. I think getting to Justin Fields and seeing that the Bears have a defensive reputation, they can build up there. You got David Montgomery. I love Darnell Mooney. So the Bears have a lot of good pieces to compete again quickly. There, Matt Nagy overachieved with Mr. Trubisky early, but couldn't get the most out of Fields here. So excited about what Fields can do. That's why, if I'm a coach, I want to work with this quarterback. So even more so than Lawrence, the way things ended there for Jacksonville, and a little bit more than Tua. Justin Fields, I think, is going to be awesome. And again, anything you can do to work with that guy right now with this opening, it makes that Bears job very appealing. Thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. Our next show will be our usual Roundup Monday show. We'll break down these 4 games in depth of what we saw there and look a little bit ahead to the championship weekend. Then we'll start breaking down those games in full. So we'll go in depth there with the double dose of matchups there for you next week. And we'll have a little bit of special look at the teams that are eliminated as well. So a lot of good stuff there that we'll check out for you on Locked On Fantasy Football as we begin a new week next week. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It is free and available on all platforms, just like this show. For this show, Locked On Fantasy Football, this has been Vinnie Iyer. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you on the flip side after these games are over on Roundup Monday.